What's happening, people? Back again. Nice early this morning, about 8 o'clock. Decided to do another podcast because if everybody knows me, my upload schedule is not very reliable. And yeah, I'm just gonna chat shit for the next 20 or so minutes about relationships and all that. Like, now, I'm not a relationship coach. I definitely been rejected more times than I can count by many girls, and this kind of applies to you as well. If you're a different type of, if you're into anything else, you're into circles or God knows what. But my over the years, my opinion, or over the last few months, more so, my opinion on picking up, like getting with people, has changed dramatically, and like that's because I went through phases of being shy, and then I went through like a phase of being a guy with like really good game. Like, I listened to a number of like podcasts on how to improve your game, and I like to think that, like, overall my understanding and game per se, or with inverted commas, has improved and like become rather good. And I had certain routines I would say to girls. Now, this is fine, like, especially for a guy who's like quite introverted and needs a jump start to even be able to talk to girls. But like, however, in my opinion, I find that there's a flaw to this, and that is because it's very surface level. Like, you can go to an extremely deeper level and have so much fulfilling results. Like, in my opinion, game is like simply a fake it till you make it like mentality. Like, it gives you these tips and tricks and these mindsets and lines that give this illusion of confidence to the girl. And while you may appear confident to the girl, like, in reality you're really not. And this is because, like, you're depending on these certain types of tricks and tips, and like on the inside, like, you're still nervous, and it's gonna be hard for you to express yourself. And now you can get yourself like to a deeper level when there's no fear of expression, like where all fear goes away, where you're completely willing to be yourself. But the self yourself and the ego are like, it's all an illusion. So think of it like this: like, we're always acting all the time. Like, when we put on a different act when we see our family, like we put on a different act when we see when we when we be ourselves. We put on a different act when we're with a girl. But the key to this is always express yourself in any way you want. But that's where being your true self is, like expressing whatever you want to express. Usually when we go up to someone, like, we have this filter, like, we're usually afraid to say what's on our mind, and this can come across as not only insecure, but even maybe arguably even a little bit creepy. And I think I can speak for most females here and say that they'd rather interact with a guy when he's free to express whatever's on his mind, because that's what makes her feel safe. Like, if she's interacting with a guy, like, that makes her feel like he's hiding something, or she'll be afraid or become less attracted. But it's funny, you have to realize, like, as from the general male consensus, like, we don't actually fear social interactions with females from a survival standpoint, right? So technically, all fear comes from the fear of death. Like, all fear is for the survival, but we don't think, oh, I could be in real danger if I approach this woman and talk to her. Like, girls, on the other hand, they do fear danger because there's obviously been horrible things and horrible things in the news and all that, but they have to worry about bad things happening to them. So by expressing yourself fully, it makes the girl feel a lot more safe. So now once you're talking to, like, whoever it is, like, once they have some basic level of attraction, like, they find you somewhat physically attractive enough to talk to you, like, you'll find that the absolute only thing that's holding you two back from completely hindering off and having romantic encounters, both the ego, and that's basically all there is to it. Now, with the ego comes fear, and comes uncomfortableness, like, comes this acknowledgement of societal constructs, and all these things are the only things that are holding the two people back. So you may ask, what's the solution to this? Well, essentially, it's to both drop each other's ego. Like, it's become pure humans in that moment. So how exactly do you go about doing this? You ask. Like, so you might be saying, Brandon, if I completely drop my ego, if I express myself exactly what I want to express, I'm just going to go up to a girl and be like, "Hey, DTF," because that's what's on my mind. Like, yeah, I get it. Like, I know we're fellas, you know what I mean? It's kind of what's a lot on our mind, but you can express yourself like the way you want to express yourself. But you got to remember the golden rule in life and in mind, and that's treat others the way that you would want to be treated. So you have to realize that in the moment when the girl is first getting to know, like she's a little nervous and she's a little afraid, and so doing something like that will just creep her out. So with that in mind, anything else you do could be a free form of expression. So let's talk about insecurities. So one of the biggest things that holds two people back, apart from ego and all that, from showing each other off their true natures, is insecurities. Now, how do you get past these? Well, you simply become vulnerable. Now you have to do this in a socially calibrated way. Like you don't just come up to a person and say, "Hey, this is my insecurity." Like the ego has to be gradually broken down very slowly, and where she has to be gradually more and more comfortable. And if you try and jump to an ego that is this low, the ego will reject it and she'll probably like walk away. So the ego has to be gradually broken down. And so the key is to become, so the I nearly fucked up the podcast, didn't I? The key is to become more and more vulnerable and to become more and more comfortable, to build a lot of comfort in a socially calibrated way. So you'll find that apart from your insecurities, when you're totally into someone, you're afraid of a lot of things. And when you have these insecurities, like you're afraid of acting a certain way, like there's other reasons why you might be afraid, such as she might walk away if you say something that is unattractive. Like she has, like, keep in mind that she has a lot of insecurities as well. Like she's worried, and if her, like, I don't know, she's worried. I don't know. Say a girl's worried about if her hair is nice, or she's worried she wearing the correct outfit. Like she's worried about a lot of things as well. So how do you get past these? Well, you talk about them. That's kind of the easiest way. Like when insecurity is brought up, it fades away. So for example, and again, you can't just bring this up. You want to do so naturally in conversation, but and again, I don't have many insecurities myself anymore, but I can briefly mention like my old ones, like my old insecurities. So such as, I don't know, I used to talk about how I don't know, I hate my genetics, let's say. I didn't like that, I wasn't very tall, I wasn't very big, I was just, I don't know, I didn't have good hair or anything like that. But like what that this does, it makes someone else more comfortable, as they're now like, oh, he's really opening up, he's really talking about insecurities, and maybe I shouldn't be so worried about my insecurities. And then they will start to talk about their own insecurities, which you'll find that the ego is a big giant ball of insecurities. And so you can even ask you can even ask them something like you're insecure about, and then they'll bring it up. And the key is to create the most non-judgmental environment that you possibly can. And when you get to this higher level state of consciousness, it's automatic. Like there's no judgment, because you realize that there's a truer, deeper entity that's within every human beyond the surface level ego. And you don't judge the ego, because the ego isn't necessarily the human's fault. It was a combination of all these traits that were given to them through their exposure to society. And they didn't really pick how they were exposed to society, but the key is to be completely non-judgmental, and in a completely non-judgmental environment where they will start opening up to you. And gradually, as you talk about your insecurities and become more and more vulnerable, the egos gradually drop. And remember, the only thing that's holding both of you back from having like a romantic relationship or whatever it is the ego. And you'll find that one of the biggest reasons that keeps like someone from going to another place with you, like let's say you meet at a bar and you want to take them somewhere else, like maybe away from their friends, or maybe to a cool restaurant or something to eat. Like it's essentially, again, going back to how the ego is holding you back. And the ego contains fear. So they're afraid that you could be dangerous, like they're afraid what their friends will think, like and again, this is just a societal construct in our mind. And lowering the ego gradually gets rid of all these fears. Now what happens when the ego is completely lowered? Well, some kind of funny things kind of happen. So from experience, it's completely open and honest and lowering the ego, which gives you the best time with someone. Like you'll find that everyone deep down is the same, and everybody just wants to be happy. Like everybody has these weird thoughts. Everybody is weird, but we're just covering it up. Like we're putting on this filter, and when we are completely open and honest, it's a breath of fresh air for anyone, really, not even just a girl or lad or like anyone at all. But I want you to think of a romantic or intimate relationship between, like, I don't know, a guy or a girl, or two guys or two girls, or a transsexual and a fella, or whatever it is, like where there are no insecurities involved. Like usually when you get to that level, when things start to get intimate, like you're very insecure about a lot of things, and you're probably wondering to yourself by saying, you know, oh, are they liking this, or am I gonna do this long enough, or what should I do next? Like you're experiencing this source of pleasure slash energy, let's say. Like arguably, there could be an argument to make that it's the best source of pleasure in human existence, and yet you're suffering during it. Like why, do you ask? Because you're having all these insecurities, like other things that might pop into your head, such as, oh, am I doing this right, or how's my body look, or and the thing is, man, like she is as well, like they are as well, like, and whoever it is, like they're thinking the exact same, like they this person most likely has much insecurities as you do, and they think very, very similar to how you think. So you'll find that most of the time you participate in these intimate moments, and both people are incredibly insecure, and it takes away from the experience. Like you'll find that intimate experiences can be so much better when the egos are lowered and insecurities fade away. If you can do this, like with someone, like get to a point where all insecurities fade away, well, the intimate moment will become a lot more enhanced, a lot better, and it then becomes basically pure pleasure, which will then result in no suffering and no insecurities. And in fact, it's almost as if both of you become one with no separation. And when both egos are gone, like if you could express literally anything that's on your mind, any thought that you have, could actually just say, if you get to that point, it doesn't even seem like there's a separate person. And if you can truly say and express anything that's on your mind, well, that's just being your true self. And by being, did I mess up again? No, hold on. Yeah, and again, by being your true self, the self is an illusion, and it's just expressing anything that is on your mind, and it can be absolutely. It can be a great experience, and like you can both rub off each other's energy. Like the only thing that is giving the illusion of separateness is between you and another human being, is your ego again, which I know I keep like I was kind of repeating myself, but kind of really is, the ego is the biggest downfall when it comes to all this. And a lot of us will discover that all of a consciousness is one, and the surface level, like societal construct, is what gives us the illusion of separateness. But when psychological constructs is lowered and disappears, you realize that you're very similar to every human. And when you get to this extremely deep level, like you start to realize that everything is just one. Like if you think about it, we are all the same consciousness deep down, and the innermost part of the human is we're exactly the same. Like you'll find that an extremely open and honest relationship can bring you closer to really opening your eyes, which is an incredible feeling. Like two people who completely drop all insecurities and are completely expressing themselves can be awakened, because they can realize that there is no separation. Like this is why, and I'm getting really religious here now, but this is why Jesus talked about how these deep, meaningful relationships is what called, like this is why the Bible, which it's been lost in translation, suggests that we should do this thing called monogamy. Like, and you may ask what monogamy is or what it came from, but essentially it came from the realization that a deep, meaningful relationship can get you much closer to spiritual enlightenment, because the separateness of two people can fade away. Now, this is misinterpreted over time, and like you can realize that you can actually just do this to anyone. Like the love we carry is not finite, and more so infinite. What did I say? Infinite. So there's a great opportunity for all of us to have these deep, meaningful relationships. And yeah, you don't have to date someone for a year to make this happen. Like with the proper mindset and practice, like this can happen in a day, essentially. Like most relationships today are not even close to this. Like you have a modern day relationship which is extremely dishonest. Like you'll have I don't know. Let's take a boyfriend and girlfriend who's been going out for God knows how long. Let's say 5 years, and they still keep so many secrets away from each other. Like they can't really be honest about where they're going. They can't be if they might be I mean act happy even though they're really sad, and like they just don't tell each other. And we question like how can this be normal? And as this creates a huge amount of stress and suffering, and you're not expressing what you want to express to the person that you should be the most open with, i.e., your other half. So the key is before you get, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, right up front, like you completely express whatever you want to express. And even you don't even need to have a filter besides the filter that is simply treating her the way that you'd want to be treated. And so like good things happen like when you find that if you're completely open and honest and express whatever you want to express, like your relationships begin to vastly improve. And as such, you'll be able to maintain relationships, like you'll be able to have multiple relationships. Like you remember, if you truly express what you want to express as well as a guy, you probably don't want just one relationship. And this might seem difficult. How are you supposed, like how am I supposed to tell someone that I want to see other girls? Like, well, you'll find that like it's funny. I think I remember reading something before, and it's like the reason why like lads cheat more than girls are more likely to do that is because when lads, think of it like this, like a female's egg is a lot more expensive than like than than lads his substance, like a semen, like say for example. So say semen would cost, I don't know, 50 cent in the market because there's unlimited supply of semen. But then a girl's egg is only, one egg a month or whatever. I know everyone's not one egg a month, but whatever it is. So women only have, and then they hit menopause, and then all their eggs are gone. So women only have a certain amount of eggs, while lads have a certain amount of times they can reproduce. So that's why I think it's come from like back in the ancestor age where the the man wants to literally kind of dump his he wants to reproduce with everybody. That's kind of like it's wired into our brains. That's why, and then the woman then wants just the one kind of such and such called alpha male to like reproduce with her. That's why men just have that mentality where they just need to feel like they have to get everybody. While the woman is more than likely just to be happy with one partner. That's why when you're kind of like in your late teens and early 20s, it's very difficult to it's very difficult for men not think of other like women in a sexual way, because like it's kind of hardwired into our brains. Not an excuse for cheating now, because no, it's kind of how we're biologically made up. But it is like it's our goals are meant to reproduce and survive. And like with men, like it's we just need to, like as it's cheap, like we're able to like unlimited amounts we can like put into like everyone. But meanwhile women can only have one at a time. So that's why they search for that's why they have like the best looking guy or the tallest guy or the most athletic guy or whatever it is. But yeah, I completely gone off a tangent here, haven't I? Yeah, I have. Okay, my apologies. But it wouldn't be like me. It wouldn't be like a Brandon Holland podcast if I didn't do that, anyways. But um, yeah. So essentially, what I was on about, like, I was going back to where you know, like, if you're honest with someone from the start, like they would rather date an honest man, like who is honest but wants to see multiple people, then they would be dating a dishonest man who says you only see her. And you'll find that when you completely drop your ego and are completely open and honest, like she'll believe you because she sees that you're expressing yourself what you truly want to express. And then when you truly tell her that your love is infinite, like she'll be okay with that. And if she's on this level, like you'll find there's a lot of really high egos in the world, and this won't work for everyone. But remember, the entire world is starting to wake up. Like entire world is like gaining in consciousness, and one day like this will all be a reality. Like all relationships will be free of ego and insecurities. But that's like hence why people are waking up. Like a lot of people are going vegan. A lot of people are kind of being mindful. They're like just trying all these new things, like to try and prove the world. But my advice is to try this out. And even though I sound like a bit of a lunatic at the moment, but because if you try this, like you're really by getting really deep and vulnerable and dropping all securities or the ego with someone, it can vastly improve your life.